What if I told you that companies can actually pay you to use their apps and websites? And no, I'm not talking about becoming a programmer. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need a computer science degree. And you don't need to build the app yourself. Your job is simply to use a website or application like a normal customer, complete a few tasks, and tell the company what you think. Maybe something is confusing. Maybe a button doesn't work. Maybe you can't find what you're looking for. Or maybe everything works perfectly, but the company wants to know how a real person experiences the product. And that's where website and app testing comes in. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how this online opportunity works, what you actually do as a tester, what you need to get started, how the payments work, the mistakes you need to avoid, and 4 legitimate platforms you can research right now. And I'm also going to give you the realistic side of this opportunity, because here at Phony Max, we're not going to tell you that you're guaranteed to make hundreds of dollars every single day. So, if you're ready, let's get into it. First, let's understand what website and app testing actually means. Imagine that a company has spent months building a new shopping app. They've hired developers. They've designed the interface. They've added products. They've created a checkout system. Everything looks perfect to the people who built it. But there's one problem. The people who created the product already know how it works. A normal customer doesn't. So before that company launches the product to thousands or even millions of people, they want to see how real users interact with it. That's where testers come in. Instead of paying a developer to tell them whether the website is easy to use, they can put the product in front of ordinary users and watch what happens. For example, you might receive a task telling you to visit a website, search for a particular product, add it to your cart, and explain what you think about the process. While you're doing it, you may be asked to speak out loud. You could say something like, "I'm looking for the search button, but I can't immediately see it." Or, "I expected the checkout button to be here, but I had to scroll down before I found it." That's valuable information to the company. Because if you struggled to find something, thousands of other customers could struggle with the exact same thing. And that's essentially what you're being paid to discover. Now, there are different types of testing. The first is usability testing. This is probably the easiest concept to understand. You're given a website, app, or digital product, and you're asked to complete certain tasks. The company wants to know whether the experience is easy, confusing, frustrating, or enjoyable. The second type is bug testing. This can involve looking for technical problems inside an application or website. Maybe a button doesn't respond. Maybe a page crashes. Maybe a link takes you to the wrong place. Maybe a feature works on one device but doesn't work properly on another. Your job could be to identify the problem and explain exactly how you reproduced it. The third type is prototype testing. Sometimes companies want feedback before their product is even finished. They might show you an early version of an application or website and ask you to interact with it. They're basically asking, if we launched something like this, would people understand how to use it? And then there are surveys, interviews, and other forms of user research. So this industry is actually much broader than simply clicking around an app. Now let's talk about who can do this. One of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be a technology expert. That's not necessarily true. For many usability tests, you're actually being selected because you're an ordinary user. The company doesn't necessarily want a software engineer. They may want someone who shops online, uses social media, books flights, plays games, uses banking apps, or simply behaves like their target customer. What you do need is the ability to follow instructions. You need to pay attention. You need to communicate clearly. And if you're completing a recorded test, you need to explain what you're thinking while you're using the product. You also need a suitable device, a reliable internet connection, and in some cases, a microphone or webcam. The exact requirements depend on the platform and the individual test. Now, let's get into the websites. Number 1 is user testing. User testing is one of the best-known platforms in the user research and usability testing space. The basic idea is simple. You create a participant profile. The platform may ask you questions about yourself, your devices, your interests, your experience, and other information. This helps companies find people who match the type of customer they're looking for. You may then see screening questions for different studies. And this is extremely important. You won't necessarily qualify for every test. For example, a company developing a travel application might specifically want people who have booked an international flight recently. Another company might want people who regularly shop online. Another might be testing a banking application and looking for users with certain experiences. So don't get discouraged if you don't qualify for everything. That's normal. If you qualify for a test, you'll receive instructions explaining what you need to do. You might have to navigate a website. You might have to complete specific tasks. And you may be asked to record your screen and voice while explaining your experience. Once you complete the test according to the instructions, you submit it and, if accepted according to the platform's process, you're paid according to the terms of that particular test. But here's something you need to understand. User testing isn't a traditional 9-to-5 job. You don't simply log in and automatically receive 8 hours of work. The availability of tests depends on demand, your profile, your location, and whether you match what a particular company is looking for. So think of this as an opportunity for additional income, not a guaranteed salary. Now let's move to platform number 2, Userlytics. Userlytics is another platform that connects companies with people who can test websites, applications, prototypes, and digital experiences. The concept is very similar. You create your tester profile. You may receive screening opportunities. If you match the requirements, you can participate in a study. And depending on the assignment, you could be asked to perform tasks while providing verbal feedback. For example, imagine a company is testing a new online store. They might ask you to find a particular product, look through the product page, try to add it to your cart, and explain whether anything feels confusing. The company isn't just interested in whether you completed the task. They're interested in what you experienced while completing it. That's why you should never rush through these tests. If you're constantly clicking without explaining anything, you're missing the point. Good feedback is specific. Instead of saying, "I don't like this website," you could say, "I expected the product categories to be at the top of the page, but I didn't notice them immediately. I had to scroll down before I realized where they were." That's much more useful. Remember, companies are paying for your observations. Now, platform number 3 is TesterWork. TesterWork is especially interesting because it can take you beyond basic usability testing and into software testing and bug reporting. This means some assignments may involve actually searching for problems inside an application. Imagine you're testing a mobile app. You open it, you log in, you try different features, you follow the instructions, and suddenly, you discover that when you press a certain button, the application crashes. That's something the company needs to know. You may then have to report what happened, explain the steps that caused the problem, and provide the information requested by the testing platform. This type of work can require more attention to detail than simply giving your opinion about a website. You need to be able to reproduce problems and describe them accurately. So if you're the kind of person who naturally notices when something isn't working properly, this category could be particularly interesting for you. And you don't necessarily need to be a professional software developer to begin exploring it. However, some testing projects can have more specific requirements, so always read the instructions before applying. Now let's move to the 4th platform, Userfeel. Userfeel is another usability testing platform where participants can test websites and digital products and provide feedback based on their experience. The process is generally similar. You create your profile. You may complete screening questions. You qualify for a study. You receive instructions. You perform the requested tasks. And you provide your feedback according to the study requirements. One important thing I want you to understand is that these 4 platforms are not 4 magical websites that will automatically give you work every day. That's not how this industry works. You could have several opportunities one week and very few the next. That's why I recommend thinking about this as a portfolio of opportunities. Instead of depending on one platform, you can research multiple legitimate platforms and see which ones are available to you. Now let's talk about the question everybody wants answered. How much money can you actually make? Here's where I want to be completely honest with you. There is no universal amount. A test could pay a relatively small amount. Another study could pay more. A longer or more specialized research study may offer a higher payment. The amount depends on the platform, the test, the duration, the complexity, your profile, and whether you qualify. So if you see somebody online saying, "Just test apps and make $500 every day," be skeptical. That is not a realistic promise for the average person. The better way to approach this is as supplemental income. If you qualify for a test, complete it properly, and get paid, That's money you earned by providing a service. But you shouldn't quit your job tomorrow because you signed up for a testing website. Start small. Learn how the platforms work. See how many opportunities you're actually receiving. And then decide whether it's worth investing more time. Now, what do you actually need to get started? First, you'll need a suitable device. That could be a smartphone, tablet, or computer, depending on the particular test. Second, you'll need reliable internet. There's nothing worse than starting a test and losing your connection halfway through. Third, you may need a microphone. If the test requires you to speak while recording your screen, your voice needs to be understandable. You don't necessarily need an expensive studio microphone, but avoid doing recorded tests in a noisy environment. Fourth, you need a quiet place where you can concentrate. Fifth, you need a professional email address and accurate profile information. And finally, you need patience. Because this isn't a vending machine where you insert your phone and money comes out. You may register today and not receive a suitable test immediately. That's normal. Now, here's how you can increase your chances of getting opportunities. Number 1. Complete your profile. Don't leave important information blank if the platform asks for it. The more accurately the platform understands your profile, the easier it can be to match you with relevant studies. Number 2. Be honest. This is extremely important. If a screening question asks whether you've used a particular type of software, don't lie just because you think the answer will qualify you. Companies are looking for specific users. If you don't match the requirements, move on. There will be other opportunities. Number 3. Read the instructions carefully. Don't assume that every test works the same way. One study might ask you to speak continuously. Another might require you to complete specific tasks silently. Another might require screen recording. Follow exactly what you're told. Number 4. Give useful feedback. Don't just say, everything is good. Explain your experience. What was easy? What was confusing? What did you expect to happen? What surprised you? Where did you get stuck? That kind of feedback is much more valuable. Number 5. Check your platforms regularly. Some opportunities can have limited availability. If you only log in once every 2 weeks, you may miss opportunities that were available earlier. And number 6, build your experience. The more comfortable you become with explaining your thoughts and identifying problems, the better you'll understand what companies are looking for. Now let's talk about some mistakes that beginners make. The first mistake is expecting unlimited work. Remember, these are usually project-based opportunities. There may not always be something available. The second mistake is lying on screening questions. Don't do it. It can lead to poor quality participation and could damage your ability to receive future opportunities. The third mistake is giving lazy feedback. If you're asked to explain your experience and all you say is, "It's good," then you're not really providing useful information. The fourth mistake is ignoring your audio. If you're recording your voice and the company can barely hear you, that's a problem. Find a quiet location and test your microphone before beginning when possible. The fifth mistake is paying random people to get you guaranteed testing jobs. Be careful. Nobody should be able to guarantee that you'll receive a certain number of paid tests simply because you paid them. Always research the platform yourself. Go to its official website. Read its current requirements. Understand its payment process. And never assume that someone on social media telling you, "Pay me and I'll guarantee you work," is legitimate. And finally, don't depend on just one platform. That's one of the biggest lessons from this entire video. If you're serious about exploring website and app testing, research multiple platforms. User testing, Userlytics, TesterWork, and Userfeel. Check which ones accept participants from your country. Check the current device requirements. Check the payment methods. Check the testing requirements. And then decide which ones make sense for you. Now, let's bring everything together. Can you actually make money testing apps and websites? Yes, people do get paid for usability research, software testing, and user feedback. But is it guaranteed? No. Can you make a specific amount every day? No. Will every platform have opportunities for you? No. And do you need to treat this like a real service rather than free money? Absolutely. The real opportunity is that companies need real people to interact with their products. Developers can build the technology. Designers can make it look beautiful. But they still need real users to tell them what happens when somebody who wasn't involved in building the product actually tries to use it. And that is where you come in. You could be sitting at home, opening an application, following a few instructions, explaining what you're experiencing, and providing feedback that helps a company improve its product. That's the business model. And for someone looking for legitimate ways to explore online income, it's definitely a category worth researching. But here's my biggest advice. Don't make this your only plan. Use it as one piece of your online income strategy. You can combine opportunities like this with remote jobs, freelancing, AI-assisted services, digital products, content creation, or other legitimate online work. The goal isn't to find one magical website that makes you rich. The goal is to build multiple skills and multiple income opportunities over time. And that's what we focus on here at Phony Max. Real opportunities, useful technology, AI tools, remote work, and practical ways to use the devices you already have to create opportunities for yourself. So if this video helped you understand how app and website testing actually works, hit the like button. And if you want me to make a step-by-step video showing you exactly how to register, create your profile, pass the qualification process, and start looking for your first testing opportunity, comment the word test below. Also, subscribe to Phony Max because we're constantly researching new remote jobs, AI tools, online opportunities, and realistic ways to make money online. Remember, your phone doesn't have to be just something you use for scrolling. It can also be a tool for learning, building skills, finding opportunities, and creating another source of income. This is Phony Max. Keep learning, keep earning, keep building, and I'll see you in the next video.